The deep space listening station was quiet, its crew drowsy in the late hours. Then, without warning, an alarm blared. A distress signal had been detected. The officer in charge, Commander Ryan Carter, rushed to the control panel. His eyes widened as he read the data. The signal was old, very old. The system had tagged it as originating from Earth, but that made no sense. This kind of signal had not been used for 1,000 years. Ryan turned to the technician on duty, a young woman named Sarah Kim. She typed furiously, running checks to confirm the source. The results left her speechless. "The signal is coming from Antarctica," she said, voice shaky, "deep underground." The room fell silent. That was impossible. Within hours, the discovery reached the highest levels of government. Scientists, military strategists, and intelligence officers gathered in secret. Theories flew back and forth. Was it a forgotten experiment? A lost research base? An elaborate hoax? The decision was made. A team would be sent to investigate. A military transport jet roared through the sky, cutting through the icy winds of Antarctica. Inside, a group of soldiers and scientists sat in tense silence. Among them was Dr. Alan Foster, the leading archaeologist. Unlike the others, he had a theory. "Ancient humans were more advanced than we think," he murmured to himself, recalling old texts that hinted at lost technology. But even he could not have imagined what they were about to find. The aircraft landed on a remote ice plain. The signal led them to a glacier, where the ice had begun to crack. Dr. Foster knelt, brushing snow away from what looked like metal. "This isn't natural," he whispered. "Something is buried here." Excavation machines arrived within hours, drilling deep into the ice. As the sun set, the team uncovered a massive metallic structure. It was a door, hundreds of feet tall. As they worked to open it, the distress signal grew stronger, as if whatever was inside knew they were there. With a loud groan, the door slid open. Cold air rushed out, carrying the scent of age and metal. The team stepped inside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. What they saw made them freeze. Towering above them, hidden for centuries, was a colossal figure. A machine. A giant humanoid robot, its metal body covered in ancient symbols. Its head tilted slightly, as if watching them. The distress signal pulsed louder. Then, in the silence, something happened that made every heart stop. The giant's eyes flickered. A deep, low hum echoed through the chamber. It was waking up. The air inside the massive underground chamber was thick with dust, untouched by time. The team stood frozen, their eyes locked on the colossal machine before them. The giant's eyes flickered again, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. The deep hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls and the icy ground beneath their feet. Dr. Alan Foster took a slow step forward, his breath visible in the cold air. His mind raced with possibilities. This was not just a machine. This was something ancient, something built with technology far beyond what modern humans understood. His fingers twitched as he reached out, his gloved hand brushing against the Titan's cold metallic surface. The moment his hand made contact, the symbols on its body began to glow, pulsing in rhythm with the distress signal. Commander Ryan Carter tightened his grip on his rifle, his instincts screaming at him to step back. The soldiers around him did the same, their fingers hovering over their triggers. No one knew what this thing was or what it was capable of. But before any order could be given, the ground beneath them trembled. Sarah Kim, still monitoring the signal from her portable device, gasped as new data flooded the screen. "The signal, it's spreading," she exclaimed. "Other locations are responding." Dr. Foster snapped his head toward her. "Other locations?" Sarah nodded, scrolling through the chaotic readings. This wasn't just one distress call. This was a beacon. It wasn't asking for help. It was activating something. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. This Titan was not alone. There were more, buried beneath mountains, hidden in deep ocean trenches, sealed away in deserts. And now, They were waking up. Before anyone could react, the chamber trembled again. But this time, it wasn't from the machine. A deafening crack echoed through the cavern as part of the ceiling collapsed. Ice and rock tumbled down, forcing the team to scramble for cover. A massive gust of freezing air rushed in, followed by something else, something that did not belong on Earth. The sky above the glacier darkened unnaturally. The storm had arrived too fast, moving in a way that defied weather patterns. It was unnatural. And then, they appeared. From the thick clouds above, several massive dark shapes descended, their sleek, metallic forms cutting through the swirling snow. The soldiers barely had time to react before bright beams of light shot down, scanning the excavation site. The eerie glow illuminated the team's faces, their expressions shifting from confusion to fear. Dr. Foster's heart pounded as he stared at the impossible sight. "We weren't the only ones who heard the signal," he whispered. The air filled with a low, droning hum, an unnatural sound that sent a chill down every spine. The ships, alien in design, hovered silently. No weapons fired, no threats were spoken, but there was no mistaking the message. They had come for the Titans. Commander Carter was the first to snap into action. "We need to move, now," he barked, waving for the team to retreat toward the transport. But before they could reach safety, the Colossus behind them moved. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard. A deep mechanical groan as metal shifted for the first time in centuries. The glowing symbols on its body flared brighter. Steam hissed from its joints as it slowly raised its head. The alien ships adjusted their positions, reacting to the movement. The lead vessel emitted a strange, warbling frequency, and the Titan answered. A shockwave of energy burst from the giant's core, sending ice and snow flying in all directions. The force knocked several soldiers off their feet, their gear scattering across the frozen ground. The alien ships immediately reacted. The lead craft's underside split open, revealing a pulsing red core. Energy crackled, building into something dangerous. Sarah barely had time to shout before the alien ship fired. A blinding beam of energy tore through the air, aimed directly at the awakening Titan. For a moment, it seemed like the ancient machine was about to be destroyed before it could even stand. But then something impossible happened. The Titan raised its arm. A shimmering barrier of golden energy formed in an instant, absorbing the alien attack. The beam dissipated against the glowing shield, leaving the Titan untouched. Dr. Foster could barely believe what he was seeing. It's defending itself. But the battle had just begun. The other alien ships moved into attack formation. More weapons began charging, their red cores glowing ominously. And then, for the first time in thousands of years, the Titan spoke. Its voice was deep, metallic, and filled with an ancient power. The language was unknown, but somehow, they all understood. "You are not welcome here." The storm raged on. The Titan took a single step forward, the ground shaking beneath its immense weight. Snow and ice cracked, revealing more of its body. Its armor, once hidden beneath layers of frost, gleamed under the dim Antarctic light. The alien ships hesitated for just a moment. Then they opened fire. The sky above Antarctica was no longer a simple storm. It was a battlefield. The alien ships fired in unison, their energy beams streaking through the frozen air, aiming for the awakening Titan. The ancient machine, still sluggish from its long slumber, raised its arm again. The golden barrier flickered to life, absorbing the blasts, but cracks began to form. The shield wasn't at full strength. The soldiers and scientists could do nothing but watch in shock. They had never seen technology like this, not from Earth, and certainly not from beyond the stars. Commander Ryan Carter forced himself to think. They were caught between a colossal war machine that had just woken up and an alien force that was clearly here to destroy it. "Get to the transport now," he shouted, grabbing Sarah Kim by the arm and pulling her toward the exit. Dr. Alan Foster hesitated. He wasn't ready to leave. This was history, unfolding before his eyes. The Titan was fighting back, but it was alone. And judging by the way its shield flickered, it couldn't hold out forever. The air vibrated as the alien ships changed tactics. Their energy weapons stopped, and instead, sleek black pods dropped from their hulls, slamming into the ice with metallic thuds. The pods hissed open, revealing tall, armored figures. Their bodies were encased in dark, insect-like exoskeletons, their glowing red eyes scanning the battlefield. They moved in eerie synchronization, their steps silent despite their size. And then, as one, they charged toward the Titan. The first of the creatures leaped high, moving faster than anything humanly possible. It landed on the Titan's arm and immediately began tearing into the metal with its claws. Sparks flew as the alien warrior ripped at the ancient machine's armor. More of them followed, climbing up its legs, its back, its shoulders, swarming it like a pack of wolves taking down a massive beast. The Titan staggered. Its arms moved slower than expected, as if its body wasn't fully operational. It tried to shake the invaders off, but for every alien it crushed, two more took its place. Alan felt a sickening realization settle in. The Titan had woken up, but it wasn't ready for this fight. Sarah's voice crackled over the comms, filled with panic. "We have reports coming in. More of these signals are activating across the world. The other Colossi. They're waking up too." Commander Carter didn't like the sound of that. "And the aliens? What about them?" Sarah's face went pale as she read the incoming data. "They're heading straight for those locations. They knew where these machines were before we even did." Alan clenched his fists. "This isn't an invasion," he muttered. "It's a hunt." The realization sent a shiver through the team. The aliens weren't just attacking Earth. They had come specifically for the Colossi. But why? Before any answers could be found, the battle took a sudden turn. The Titan, still struggling against the swarm of enemies on its body, did something no one expected. Its chest plate split open. A brilliant golden light burst forth, blindingly bright. The energy hummed like a living thing, pulsing outward in waves. The alien creatures screeched in agony, their bodies unable to withstand the force. One by one, they disintegrated into ash, their armor crumbling like dried leaves in the wind. The remaining soldiers and scientists shielded their eyes, feeling the heat from the blast, even from a distance. When the light faded, the battlefield was silent. The aliens were gone. The Titan stood tall once more, its glowing eyes locked onto the remaining enemy ships above. Then it spoke again. This time, the voice wasn't just deep and mechanical, it carried rage. "You return after all this time, but you are too late." Sarah's hands trembled. It knows them. It's talking like it has a memory. Before anyone could respond, the Titan lifted one massive arm toward the sky. Its fingers curled into a fist, and suddenly, the air around it rippled. It was pulling something from the ground beneath them. Something huge. The ice groaned as another metallic structure emerged. It was different from the Titan. Rounder, sleeker. A weapon. The alien ships, sensing the change in the battle, immediately began retreating. Their engines roared as they turned away, moving back toward the storm clouds. The remaining soldiers watched in stunned silence. The aliens had been so aggressive before. Why were they leaving now? The answer came seconds later. In the distance, beyond the mountains of ice, something else was moving. Another Titan. Larger than the first. Its eyes were already open, and it was marching toward them. The ground trembled beneath the ice, sending cracks spiderwebbing across the frozen landscape. The second Titan, larger and more imposing than the first, strode forward with deliberate, thunderous steps. Snow and ice slid from its colossal frame, revealing armor that shimmered in the dim Antarctic light. Unlike the first Titan, which had struggled to fully awaken, this one was already active, already aware. The team could do nothing but watch in awe and terror. The first Titan had barely survived its initial fight. If this second machine was hostile, they had no way of stopping it. Commander Ryan Carter's grip on his rifle tightened. "Is it on our side?" he muttered, his breath visible in the freezing air. Dr. Alan Foster was too mesmerized to answer. His heart pounded as he studied the symbols glowing across the Titan's chest. They were different from the first one's markings, more intricate, more complete. A sinking feeling twisted in his gut. Before he could process it, the air around them shifted. A low hum, deeper than before, vibrated through the ice. It wasn't coming from the Titans. It was coming from beneath them. Sarah Kim gasped as her tablet screen filled with new data. "There's another energy source below us. It's enormous." Ryan didn't like that. "Bigger than these two." Sarah hesitated. "Much bigger." As if in response to her words, the ice beneath their feet cracked violently. The entire team stumbled as a deep mechanical groan echoed through the land. It wasn't just the ice, it was the earth itself shifting. And then, the voice returned. But this time, it wasn't coming from the first Titan. It came from the second. "The keys have awoken. The seal is breaking." Alan's blood ran cold. "What seal?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Before he could get an answer, the second Titan raised its arm. Unlike the first, which had fought defensively, this one moved with purpose. Its fingers splayed wide, and suddenly, golden energy pulsed outward, racing across the ice in all directions. The frozen ground began melting as ancient structures, buried for millennia, emerged from below. The ice sheet collapsed. The entire landscape split open, revealing a hidden city of metal stretching beneath the Antarctic surface. Towering structures of blackened steel jutted from the depths, their surfaces engraved with the same symbols found on the Titans. Vast corridors and passageways led into the abyss, their lights flickering back to life, as if sensing the presence of the awakened machines. But this wasn't just a city. It was a battleground. Scattered throughout the ruins were the remains of other colossi, some shattered beyond recognition, others still partially intact. Their massive forms were frozen in time, locked in the final moments of an ancient war. Alan's stomach twisted. This isn't just a hidden base. This is a graveyard. The realization hit like a hammer. These Titans weren't just tools. They weren't just machines. They were warriors. And they had lost. Sarah's voice shook. If these things fought something, then where is their enemy now? The second Titan turned its glowing gaze toward the ruins below. Its deep, rumbling voice resonated once more. They were sealed away. But time has weakened the prison. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Sealed away? You mean the things they were fighting aren't dead? A moment of silence stretched between them. Then, almost as if in answer, a chilling, inhuman screech echoed from the depths of the ruined city. It was not mechanical. It was alive. Alan's breath caught in his throat. Oh no. Sarah scrambled through the readings, her hands shaking. Something else is waking up, and it's not one of them. The first Titan, still standing amidst the snow, shifted its stance. Its massive form turned toward the ruins, its glowing eyes narrowing. The second Titan did the same, its energy pulsing with newfound urgency. The message was clear. They had been called here for a reason, and now so had their enemy. The ice beneath them shattered completely. From the abyss of the ancient battlefield, a monstrous shape crawled forth. It was nothing like the Colossi, where they were symmetrical, regal, and built with precision. This creature was twisted, a nightmarish fusion of flesh and metal. Its body shifted unnaturally, shifting between solid and liquid, its jagged limbs bending at impossible angles. A predator from another time. A being that had been locked away for a reason. It let out another unearthly scream. And then it attacked. The frozen wasteland of Antarctica had become a battlefield of ancient titans and nightmares reborn. From the ruins beneath the ice, the creature emerged, a towering, twisted fusion of flesh and shifting metal, its limbs bending in ways that defied logic. The very air around it shimmered as reality seemed to struggle against its existence. The first Titan, still recovering from its earlier battle, took a defensive stance. The second Titan, larger and stronger, stepped forward, its golden energy flaring brighter in response to the new threat. Then, without warning, the creature moved. It didn't walk. It didn't run. It shifted, its body twisting and appearing several meters ahead in an instant, like a broken film reel skipping frames. One moment, it was standing on the edge of the ruined city. And the next, it was on top of the first Titan, its elongated claws driving deep into the machine's armored chest. The Titan roared, a sound not of pain but of warning. Its massive hand swung upward, trying to rip the creature away. But the monster liquefied, seeping through the cracks in its armor like living mercury before reforming on the other side. Commander Ryan Carter and his team could only watch in helpless horror. They had no weapons that could fight something like this. Sarah Kim's hands flew across her tablet, desperate for answers. This thing, it's not just some alien. It's a parasite. Dr. Alan Foster turned to her, his face pale. What do you mean? Sarah zoomed in on the creature's energy signature. It's not attacking to kill. It's corrupting the Titan's systems. As if to prove her point, the first Titan staggered, its golden energy flickering erratically. Its movements became slower, less coordinated. The ancient symbols carved into its body dimmed, turning from bright gold to a sickly red. The parasite was infecting it. Ryan cursed under his breath. We need to get out of here. Now. But Alan shook his head. If that thing takes control of the Titan, we'll have nowhere to run. Before anyone could argue, the second Titan finally made its move. It slammed its fist into the infected Titan's chest, sending the parasite sprawling across the ice. The first Titan, now struggling to remain in control, let out a sound, a deep, painful, distorted cry. The parasite, undeterred, lashed out again. This time, it didn't go for the Titans. It came for the humans. The creature's form blurred as it teleported across the battlefield, appearing only a few meters away from Ryan and his team. Its shifting body twitched, scanning them with hollow, glowing eyes. And then it lunged. A blur of metal and energy shot between them before the monster could reach them. The second Titan moved with terrifying speed, placing itself between the parasite and the humans. Its massive hand caught the creature midair, holding it in an unbreakable grip. The parasite screeched, its form flickering violently as it struggled. The Titan's glowing eyes locked onto the monster, and for the first time, the humans heard something new. Not just speech, but anger. You were never meant to return. The Titan's other hand glowed with burning golden light, brighter than before. The parasite shrieked, sensing what was coming. Its body twisted, trying to escape. It was too late. With a single devastating motion, the Titan drove its fist into the parasite's core. A blinding explosion of energy erupted across the battlefield. The parasite's form dissolved into pure light, its screeching cry fading into the howling winds. Silence followed. Sarah gasped for breath, her heart hammering. Ryan exhaled slowly, still gripping his rifle uselessly. Dr. Alan Foster stared at the second Titan. It knew what that thing was, he whispered. It was waiting for it. Before anyone could say more, the first Titan collapsed to one knee, its body still glowing with the remnants of the infection. Sparks flickered along its armor as it tried to regain control of itself. The second Titan turned toward it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, in a gesture that no one expected, the second Titan placed its hand on the infected one's chest. A pulse of golden energy spread outward, purging the corruption from its systems. The first Titan's glowing eyes flickered, then stabilized. It let out a deep, relieved exhale. Ryan shook his head in disbelief. That was close. But Alan wasn't convinced. His gut told him something was still wrong. Sarah checked her tablet again. "Commander," she started, voice uncertain. "The readings, they're not stopping." Ryan frowned. What do you mean? Sarah turned her screen toward him. The seal under the ice. It's still breaking. As if in response, the ground rumbled again. Alan's eyes widened. That parasite wasn't the real threat. Ryan turned toward the two titans. Then what is? The answer came in the form of a deep, unearthly roar that vibrated through the ruined city. Something far bigger was still waking up. The roar that echoed from beneath the ice was not just sound. It was pressure, a force so powerful that the ground shook violently. The ruined city beneath Antarctica trembled as cracks spread through the ice, widening into abyssal chasms. Snow and metal collapsed into the depths, swallowed by the ancient prison that had been locked away for millennia. Ryan Carter barely managed to stay on his feet as another shockwave ripped through the battlefield. He turned toward Sarah Kim, who was frantically swiping through her tablet. Tell me you've got something. Sarah's face was pale. The energy levels are off the charts. That parasite. It was nothing compared to what's coming. Dr. Alan Foster felt a sinking weight in his chest. He had spent his life searching for evidence of ancient extraterrestrial life. Now, he was staring at something that should have never been unearthed. The two titans, standing side by side, knew it too. The first titan, still recovering from the parasite's infection, straightened its massive frame. Its golden eyes burned with renewed intensity as it prepared for battle. The second titan, the one that had saved them, took a defensive stance, its armor glowing with raw power. Then the ice gave way completely. A massive, jagged monolith of black metal emerged from the depths, pushing through the frozen wasteland like a living mountain. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't even a creature. It was something else, something that defied understanding. Its form was colossal, easily 3 times the size of the titans. Its shape was constantly shifting, its surface rippling like a liquid shadow, yet its movements were precise, calculated. It had no visible eyes, no mouth, but when it moved, the very fabric of reality warped around it. And then it spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in thought, pressing directly into the minds of every living thing around it. You were fools to wake us. Ryan staggered back, gripping his head as the voice crashed through his mind like a tidal wave. It wasn't just speaking, it was forcing its presence into their consciousness, making them feel its ancient hatred. Alan gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay standing. This isn't a single being, he gasped. It's a hive. Sarah looked at him in horror. A hive? You mean there's more of them? Before Alan could answer, the entity expanded. Its form stretched outward, splitting into dozens, no, hundreds, of smaller shadows, each one twisting into monstrous shapes. Ryan's blood ran cold. It's not just one enemy. It's an army. The titans reacted instantly. The second titan raised its massive arm, golden light flaring across its body as a barrier formed between the humans and the spreading darkness. The first titan, despite its weakened state, took a step forward and extended its arms, channeling energy into its own weapons. The entity, the hive, didn't wait. It attacked all at once. The shadows launched forward, tendrils of pure darkness stretching toward the titans like spears. The golden barrier held for only a moment before cracks spread across its surface. Then it shattered. The first titan roared and swung its massive fist, crushing several shadow creatures into nothingness. But for everyone it destroyed, 3 more took its place. The second titan moved with precision, its attacks slicing through the enemy, its golden energy searing through the darkness. But the shadows kept coming. Ryan and his team could only watch as the titans fought like gods against demons, their colossal battle shaking the earth itself. Alan's mind raced. They can't win like this, he muttered. There are too many. Sarah's hands trembled over her tablet. There has to be something we can do. Ryan gritted his teeth. We're just humans. What can we possibly? Then suddenly, his radio crackled to life. A new voice came through. The human voice. All units, this is Strike Team Omega, inbound to your location. Ryan's eyes widened. What? Sarah gasped as her tablet lit up with new signals. Commander, we're not alone. The sky above them split apart as the clouds roared with the sound of incoming dropships. Dozens of massive, heavily armed human warships pierced through the storm, their engines blazing as they descended toward the battlefield. From their hulls, battle mechs and soldiers rained down, armed with weapons built from the very same ancient technology as the Titans. Humanity had been watching. And now, they had arrived to join the fight. The sky above the Antarctic battlefield was no longer empty. Humanity had answered the call. Dozens of warships descended through the storm, their hulls gleaming with the advanced alloys reverse-engineered from ancient Titan technology. From their open bays, drop pods rained down, slamming into the frozen earth like meteors. Exo-suited soldiers emerged from them, clad in power armor, their weapons humming with the same golden energy that pulsed through the Titans. Among them were battle mechs, towering war machines designed for combat against threats not of this earth. Their cannons charged, their blades unfolded, and their pilots locked onto the shifting horde of darkness below. Commander Ryan Carter could barely process what he was seeing. He had been prepared to die, to watch this ancient horror consume them all. But now, as he stared at the massed forces of humanity, his chest tightened with something else. Hope. Sarah Kim's fingers flew over her tablet, linking to the incoming forces. I'm getting confirmations. Multiple divisions, multiple nations. This isn't just a military response. This is a coalition. Dr. Alan Foster was still staring, his mouth open. They knew, he murmured. They knew something like this could happen. Ryan gritted his teeth and activated his comm. Strike Team Omega, this is Commander Carter. We are on the ground. We have 2 active Titans engaging the enemy. What's your plan? The reply came swiftly. Our job is simple, Commander. We hold the line. And then the battle truly began. The Titans were no longer alone. The human mechs surged forward, meeting the tide of shadows head-on. Their cannons roared, firing bolts of golden plasma that disintegrated the monstrous shapes on contact. Soldiers in exosuits raced between the colossi, their rifles and energy blades cutting through the creatures like fire through dry grass. The hive responded instantly. The darkness shifted, adapting to the new threat. Where before the creatures had mindlessly swarmed, now they moved with intelligence, reforming into something worse. Massive, grotesque figures rose from the depths, twisted mockeries of the Titans, their bodies pulsing with stolen energy. They stood nearly as tall as the human war mechs, their hollow eyes glowing with hatred. And then they charged. A massive shadow beast lunged at one of the human mechs, its claws tearing through the armor. The pilot barely had time to eject before the machine was ripped apart. Another exo-suited soldier was caught mid-air, dragged into the mass of darkness, his screams cut off as he was consumed. The hive was learning, evolving. Ryan's heart pounded. We're losing ground. But then the Titans reacted. The first Titan, still recovering from its infection, unleashed a shockwave of golden energy. The corrupted creatures shrieked as their forms disintegrated, their stolen strength ripped away. The second Titan, the one that had saved them, did not hesitate. It surged forward, closing the gap between it and the main hive. Its massive arm pulled back, and then it struck. A single devastating punch connected with the heart of the shifting abyss. The impact was so great that the frozen wasteland split open, sending tremors across the entire region. The hive reeled. For the first time, the presence in their minds, the overwhelming, crushing weight of its voice, weakened. Sarah's eyes widened. It's vulnerable. Ryan's instincts kicked in. All unites. Focus fire on the core. The order was met with a storm of firepower. Every mech, every soldier, every ship in the sky turned their weapons to one point, the center of the hive. Blazing golden light rained down like a second sun, scorching the abyss, tearing apart its form. The hive howled, a noise that wasn't just pain, but fear. Alan gasped, "It's dying." The second Titan, now standing at the very heart of the battlefield, raised both arms. Energy gathered, swirling into a single point of unimaginable power. The hive tried to retreat, but it was too late. The Titan released the blast. A wave of pure golden annihilation tore through the darkness. The hive screamed, its voice breaking apart, shattering into 1,000 pieces as its form disintegrated into nothingness. The creatures still on the battlefield collapsed, their bodies dissolving without their master's presence. And then it was over. For a long moment, nothing moved. The Titans stood tall, their eyes still glowing. The surviving human soldiers lowered their weapons, panting from exhaustion. The battlefield that had been filled with war just moments ago was now silent. Ryan exhaled shakily. Did we win? Sarah checked her readings. Then she smiled. Yeah, Commander, we won. Dr. Alan Foster turned toward the second Titan. It knew what had to be done. The Titan looked back at him. And for the first time, Alan wondered, was it just a machine? Or had it always been more than that? High above them, the storm began to clear. The stars shone once more over Antarctica, and humanity had proven itself worthy of standing beside the Titans once again.